What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron. It's Friday night. It's kind of a weird time for this video, but today we are going to talk through the 6 dynasty trades I made this week. Now, full transparency, this video idea is sort of selfish on my end. During the season, we're slammed. We're making like 5-6 videos a week. Of course, we're still in the season, but we're getting to the end here. So things are slowing up ever so slightly. And I finally have time to make some dynasty trades, right? Like week 1 through 6, it's super tough. I had some things I needed to tend to. I know a lot of trade deadlines out there are week 13, week 14, or maybe not at all. So I wanted to sort of run through the trades I've been making, show them to you, go through my process, and then you guys can apply them maybe on Saturday as like a last minute trade idea before the deadline. Maybe your deadline is week 14, maybe your deadline's not at all, and you can just take these trade ideas, this process, apply it moving forward, because I just wanted to hit a bunch of buzzer beaters before some of my trade deadlines happen in these dynasty leagues. This is our first dynasty video in a while, so strap in. Again, I know that this is a weird time to post a video. Friday night, you have the Oregon-Washington game on, but this video is really only for the dynasty sickos. So if you're a dynasty sicko, I expect this video to find you regardless. So with all that being said, we're going to look through these 6 dynasty trades I made this week before the buzzer at the deadline. So with all that being said, if you enjoy, make sure down below, subscribe, leave a like. Let's go. All right, so first up, we have a trade I made in the Mickey Mouse League. Now, this is a league with a bunch of creators here. You have Jacob Sanderson, you have Danny from Fantasy Stock Exchange, you have YZR Fantasy, you have Todd, I think that he's Superflex Fantasy on Twitter. You have Dynasty IM, you have Alex Caruso, a bunch of guys in here, right? So it's kind of a bloodbath. And by the way, this is actually a really cool tool here, Dynasty Daddy. It's just dynastydaddy.com. And pretty much what you can do is you can just input your sleeper username and you can find a league. This is the league here. Now, it is a start 10 league. I actually have the league also pulled up on Sleeper, where you can see it's quarterback, running back, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex spots, or 3 flex spots, and a super flex spot here. And the first trade we make, or actually let's talk through kind of where we're at here, all right? This is a cutthroat league, okay? It's a cutthroat league. There are a lot of people who know what they're doing in here. And you can see we are 6th in overall rank, and starter rank we're 1. So we are one of the best contenders in this league. And what made us one of the best contenders in this league is the trade we made the other day. Now, this is with Blake Hampton. He used to be on Twitter, but he's not anymore. And this is what we did. So we're on the receiving side here. I'll actually show my team because why not? And what we end up doing is we take DK Metcalf, Jonathan Taylor, Christian Watson, a 25 second, and we get Josh Jacobs, Brandon Ayuk, Rashad White, and a 25 third. Now, I don't usually do a trade like this. I don't love trading for running backs, Josh Jacobs, Rashad White. These guys are probably going to be, probably not Rashad White because he has some youth to him, but Josh Jacobs is going to sink like a rock. Like, he's probably a top 8 dynasty running back right now. In the offseason, he's someone that's going to be really hard to move off of. So I'm kind of buying high on Josh Jacobs. When we look at this team, though, before this move, I had Jonathan Taylor, who I love Jonathan Taylor, but I don't think he's going to really come back in a meaningful way until maybe deep into the fantasy playoffs, to be honest. I know that they're saying like 2 to 3 weeks. Most of the Twitter doctors and injury analysts out there are saying it's more like a 5-week injury for him. So I'm not really counting on Jonathan Taylor. I also think, I'll show you in a little bit when you make a trade for Zach Moss. I think Zach Moss is a great trade target right now to buy right before the deadline. So you can see our running backs were really Saquon Barkley and then nothing else. It was Hubbard, Miles Sanders, Jeff Wilson, like really tough. Now, hero RB builds are going to work, but the issue is this is a league with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like true contenders that all have really good teams. So it's just not going to cut it to start Hubbard or Miles Sanders in a given week against a lot of these really strong teams. So what we do is we add to our running back depth. We trade away a Jonathan Taylor. We trade away a DK Metcalf. I got to be honest with you, it hurt real bad seeing what he did on Thursday night, but we already have Tyler Lockett, and it just didn't feel smart to me to have both of the Seahawks wide receivers. We didn't need it. And I really wanted to get Ayuk to stack to Purdy just because Purdy is fine, right? He's probably like a top 8 quarterback, but I think getting a wide receiver that can kind of get stacked to him and correlate with him puts him a little bit over the edge here as a fantasy quarterback. So we do that. We get Jacobs, we get Rashad White. So now we have legit running backs through and through. Saquon, Jacobs, and Rachaad White, probably RB1s rest of the season. Now our wide receivers are Tyreek Hill, Michael Pittman, Brandon Ayuk stacked to Purdy. We have Mahomes here. So, like, the issue with this team is, like, it's not an issue, but it's not the prettiest team of all time. But for as long as I have Mahomes, I'm really backed into a corner that you kind of just have to compete into perpetuity, which I'm fine doing, but it means you got to roster guys like Josh Jacobs and just decide, we're going to try and win every single year. And that's kind of what we're doing here. Now we have Njoku and Kmet, so those are fine. Tyreek Hill again, Pittman, Ayuk. And then our flex is just whatever of like Pickens, Lockett, Rachaad White, probably in that flex spot. So it's a solid team at this point. Like you can see, first in starter rank. Now, in terms of just the deal itself, right? So Metcalf, we saw it on Thursday night, but before that, he wasn't really a needle mover when it came to fantasy. This year, he was just kind of a wide receiver 2 that probably held more value than he was actually giving you. Now, if this Thursday night kind of surges him the rest of the year, then I can completely, eat my words on that statement. But to this point, before the Thursday night game, he wasn't this like massive difference maker. Jonathan Taylor wasn't going to help me this year. Christian Watson's been a pretty brutal start this year. I was fine kind of selling high off of that one game performance that he had. I like Christian Watson long term, but on this team, I needed somebody better. Like you can see here, before getting Ayuk, I had like Metcalf, I had Christian Watson, but it was so tough in the flex spot, picking between like Watson and Pickens and getting it wrong every single time. So I just needed to kind of upgrade that a little bit there. And then a 25 second, I was fine giving that up. It doesn't feel great, but we still do have our 25 first. So that's not terrible. And then we also, on the other side, Jacobs, Rachaad White, RB1s for me, Ayuk stacking to Purdy, and we get a little third on top just to kind of soften the blow of that second. So to me, the trade's pretty even. It makes sense for both sides where, Jonathan Taylor's not going to help you compete. Christian Watson's kind of a wild card with a ton of upside, a 25 second. And then Metcalf is always going to hold value, just as DK Metcalf. He's 26, big hulking wide receiver, and he showed Thursday night why he holds so much value. Now, this is a team just like on paper. You can see it here. The league, so as of right now, like I felt some pressure. You can see me in the 5th spot, even though Dynasty Daddy has me as like the best contender here. Being in the 5th spot, I felt some pressure. Right, we have Alex Caruso here. You have Blake here. I'm trying to. I don't think I'm going to be able to secure one of the buys, but I'm only 25 points off of Jacob Sanderson here. I can maybe make a late run at a bye week. Now, our next trade here is going to be in a league where I'm actually going to show you guys real quick like how this thing works. It's actually, again, it's a really cool tool, but you can just go right, select league, Mickey Mouse League. The next one I'm looking for is the Founding Fathers. Now, this, if I'm not mistaken, is the original Ron Stewart Dynasty Fantasy Football League, where we started it back when we first started the channel. All of the guys in here, I love all of them. And this is our team right now. I have to be honest, it wasn't a super sexy team. I've kind of molded it into form here. You can see overall rank, we're at 2, so that's great. And then starter rank, we're at 3. So we're a contending team with like plenty of value on the squad. Now, this first trade isn't anything too crazy. Now, I will actually show the roster real quick for Founding Fathers just so you can see kind of what the setup is. But it is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, 3 flex spots, and a super flex spot. So really deep lineup here. You have to kind of be stacked across the board. Now, our first trade that we made in this league is we gave up T. Higgins to go get Devontae Adams. Now, this was just something that was in my trade inbox. I'm not super big on selling T. Higgins right now. I think that he's probably at his rock bottom in terms of value. But to me, Devontae Adams is like a fine change for him, or fine, compensation for him, where he's more of a contending asset. He's somebody that's probably a fringe wide receiver 1 for the rest of the season. If the Raiders get a quarterback upgrade, or if Devontae Adams goes to a different team next year, he's probably still somebody that can help you on a contending team. So I was fine making this deal as much as I do like T. Higgins. T. Higgins on contenders right now, not going to help you rest of the way. Like, he is a flex wide receiver. If you have the luxury to have him in your flex spot, then go ahead. But this is just a league where I really wanted to make that small upgrade. Now, after that, to be honest with you, I would probably have them like back-to-back in Dynasty rankings as of right now anyways. Now, this is the big one that I thought was a really fun trade that you guys would enjoy. Now, I am giving up a lot here. I'm giving up a lot, right? We give up Deshaun Watson. So quarterback and super flex, that's tough to give up, especially Deshaun Watson. You are selling at the absolute lowest point, right? Or maybe not the absolute lowest point, but it's bad, man, right? So he's out for the year. In theory, You get Deshaun Watson super low when all of the scandal stuff is going on. He comes back, he plays, he sucks. This is one of the lowest points to sell Deshaun Watson, but this is a team I'm trying to contend on, and I needed to get Deshaun Watson out of here. You can see here, before we get Jalen Hurts, all I have is Goff, Stafford, Deshaun Watson. Goff and Stafford in a Dynasty Superflex is going to be really tough to win with. So, we give up Deshaun. We give up Jamar Chase, who I love Jamar Chase, but without Joe Burrow, he is not exactly a contending asset. I will say, if you're out there and you are rebuilding, Jamar Chase is a pretty good asset to go and buy. On top of that, we give up Drake London, so that's kind of a rebuilding asset as well. And then a future first for Jalen Hurts, CeeDee Lamb. We make a huge splash. It just felt like this team was lacking at the top end, right? I do love the running backs, by the way. Gibbs, Achane, Pollard, Brian Robinson, Chuba Hubbard. Like, that's perfect. And then we needed, like, Ayuk is great, Devontae Adams is good, Deebo Samuel, but we didn't have, like, a top 5, like, league-winning type of wide receiver. So we went out and we got CeeDee Lamb. So, again, we're giving up a lot, but we're getting 2 guys where Jalen Hurts is what? The 102 or 103 in startup drafts right now. And then CeeDee Lamb is probably a back-end first in startups. And on top of that, like a top 3 wide receiver rest of season. So we get pretty much a top 3 quarterback rest of season, a top 3 wide receiver rest of season, 2 massive, massive difference makers when it comes to like wins above replacement and helping your team propel forward. So that's my word of advice. If you make one of these big trades or you give up a first, anytime I'm giving up a first, it's almost always a deal like this. I'm apprehensive to give up a first. Like if somebody offered me, say, I don't know, like if somebody offered me like Deebo Samuel for a random 24 first, even if I needed a wide receiver, I don't love making deals like that. Like, Deebo's not going to put me over the top. Debo, I love Deebo. I have Deebo on teams. Like, you can see him. I have him here. I have him on a bunch of teams, but I'm not paying just a random first for a wide receiver that's, like, not a bona fide top 5 guy right now, right? Like, if I give up a first, I want someone that's going to really impact my team, like a Jalen Hurts, like a CeeDee Lamb. Right now, like a Tyreek Hill, I would. Like, somebody that can really help your team. And if not help your team, then I want it to be somebody that is a massive value, right? A CJ Stroud, a Justin Herbert, like a quarterback in the first round of a startup. Those are the kind of assets I'm giving first for. I'm not just trading a random first for, you know, somebody that's like a 4th round startup pick. I know that that's like even on the value spectrum if you just sort of look at it from face value, and I would tell you that's about even. But if it's about even, I would prefer to just hold on to the pick. It's liquid, it gains value, it just has a lot more upside than a veteran, because in the offseason, Deebo's going to be much worse than a random first. So that's kind of my take on, you know, again, I'm giving up a lot here, but I'm also getting a lot back, and these are difference-making assets. Now, after that, or I will say, this is I'll go over the team a little bit, but we have Hurts, Goff, Stafford. Feel great at quarterback, feel great at running back, Gibbs, Achane, Pollard, Brian Robinson, Chuba Hubbard, CeeDee Lamb, Ayuk, Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, Nico Collins. Like, it's a stacked team. Like, you can look through it. Hurts, Gibbs, Pollard, like the starting lineup is sick. On top of that, we don't even have guys like Devontae Adams in the lineup right now. Kobe Myers like deep on the bench. So we have a lot of good things going. We don't have a first until 2025, which you'll see a lot of my contending teams, I don't have a first on. I've or a 24 first on. I find it hard. It's a, you know, what do they call it? Have your cake and eat it too, or whatever. It's tough to do both. It's tough to hold on to all of your first and then also win championships. I know you don't necessarily have to go in all in every time, but I felt like in that deal, it did make sense. Now, our next league here is going to be too lazy to set lineups. Or actually, I don't know. Again, fellas, this video is going to be a little bit all over the place, but you can see me. I'm in 4th place here, 17-7. Out of reach of a bye, but I still do feel good about my team. Maybe not out of reach. In a league where it's they have median scoring, maybe I can make a late run, but we will definitely see about that. Now, our next league is too lazy to set lineups. So you can't see this league. By the way, I mean, Sleeper's great for everything that Sleeper does for us, but god dang it, man. I hate that you can't view best ball leagues on the Sleeper desktop version. But regardless, this is a fun league with Bush, Danny from Stock Exchange. You have Notorious Fantasy in there. Some guys from their Discord as well. And it's a best ball dynasty league. I don't have access to the Sleeper, so it's quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, 3 flex, and a super flex spot. So it's a really deep lineup. Best ball. It has some bonuses as well for like 20-yard plays, 30-yard plays, 40-yard plays, all of that good stuff. And here is the team. All right, so early in the year, I think that Bush actually made a video on it on the Stock Exchange channel, but we did a massive trade, CJ Stroud, where I think I got CJ Stroud and Bijan, and I gave him like my 24 first, my 25 first. Yeah, you can see I don't have a first until 2026, but I have a fun young core, right, where I have Stroud, I have Bijan, I have McBride, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown. So this is a really fun team. Now, heading into this, I felt weak at wide receiver, where all I really had before I made this trade, and I'll show it to you here, we end up trading Deshaun Watson straight up for Nico Collins. So again, we're trading away Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's one of my most rostered players. It has been an absolute chore to roster him in Dynasty. It's been a moral dilemma, right? No one really wants to have 40% ownership of Deshaun Watson at this point. And on teams where I'm trying to contend, I'm fine selling a little bit low. Don't get me wrong. I mean, dude, if in the offseason, if August you told me that I was going to trade away Deshaun Watson for Nico Collins, I would have told you you're crazy, right? Nico Collins at that point was like a roster clogging wide receiver, but Nico Collins has been great. I also have CJ Stroud, so I like the idea, especially in a best ball league, of linking up CJ Stroud with Nico Collins, who's a young wide receiver, a young kind of ascending wide receiver here, and that works for me. So again, before this, my wide receivers were Amon-Ra St. Brown, Hopkins, Lockett, Jacoby. That is really tough in a best ball. Even with how strong my running backs are and how strong my tight ends are, you need to have wide receivers that can do things on your best ball team. And now we have Stroud to Nico, we have Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and while we don't have a ton of wide receiver firepower, it is correlated enough to work out. You know, in a best ball, Lockett's going to pop up and have his weeks. Jacoby's going to pop up and have his weeks. They're going to have Boyd have his weeks. Wandale's going to have his weeks. So we're there. I could still maybe use another wide receiver, but at this current state where Deshaun's valued, to me, that felt like an even swap. The guy I traded with, I believe, was Flett. So he's at the bottom here. He's like rebuilding. So it made sense for him to move off of Nico Collins in favor of a quarterback. Deshaun Watson, as much as you want to sort of say one way or the other, Deshaun Watson's a fine asset to trade for. If you can buy low on a rebuilding team and just have like, I mean, it is the same trap we ran into like 3 years ago, but this is another low point to buy. If he comes out, he plays well. I mean, the Browns are still locked into him no matter what. So it is kind of you trade for him now, he will get on the field, and then there will be another sell opportunity with Deshaun Watson. I wish I kind of timed it up a little bit better, right? Maybe right after the Ravens game, but before he got hurt. So it's tough, man. It's really tough to kind of time these things, but I am happy with this team. I would like one more stud wide receiver, but again, I don't really know where to pull from, right? Like I'm still waiting on Goddard to come back. Maybe I could have some wiggle room with Aaron Rodgers, but that's selling super low on Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Again, I would like another wide receiver, but on this team, Kyron and Rashad White are going to be flex spots that could be wide receivers. So that kind of works out just fine. We're third in overall, third in starter, trying to make a run at the championship here on this team. And this team even has a shot at that first round bye. Now, our next team is the Basement World Cup. Now, the Basement World Cup is one of my favorite leagues. This is a league that we started not last season, but we started this last season, but 2 off seasons ago, if that makes sense. So not last spring, but the spring before that, we started this. And it's essentially a tournament where we have 4 different best ball leagues and the playoffs all can join. So it's a 24-team playoff. I think it is your average from weeks 1 through 14, your week 16 score, or your average from weeks 1 through 14, your week 15, your week 16, your week 17 score, all added together, and then it's just an overall prize winner. I think the first place guy is going to get $1,000 this year. So a really cool league, but the bummer is that my team sucks. So I am not competing right now, but yeah, it's not even a good, like this is dynasty trade value, and we are stuck here. I'm trying, fellas. I'm trying. It's a cutthroat league. We're rebuilding here. I think that they're doing me dirty with 9th overall. To be honest with you guys, I think this is a strong team, all right? We have a 24 first, a 24 first, 20. So we have 3 24 first. We have 4 24 seconds, 2 25 firsts on this team. Like, this is the perfect setup for a rebuild. Quentin Johnson's been brutal, though. I'm still trying to get Kittle off this team, but it's been near impossible to get a return I would like. Quarterback situation is great, right? We have Herbert, we have Kyler, we have Howell. I don't mind trying to sell off like a Howell, but I don't mind having this as like a 3, just a 3-man, especially in a best ball league like this, I don't mind having 3 stud quarterbacks. Like, this would be a little bit uneasy for me in a normal league because it's not like I can start Howell every week. But in a best ball, when it takes the best of the 3, I don't mind just kind of having a power triplet, if you will, of quarterbacks. Now, we end up making a trade for Jonathan Taylor. This just ends up in my inbox. I think I got the better of him, but I will say Noah G, he is in first place in the entire tournament right now in points scored. So it's tough. I think that he kind of screwed himself in this trade, but at the same time, his team is monstrous, and it's really hard to tell Noah G anything when he's at the top of the entire tournament right now. So what he ends up doing is he just sends me a random trade out of nowhere pretty much the minute Jonathan Taylor got hurt, and I just snap accept it. Which is just kind of what Dynasty is sometimes. I mean, genuinely, if you can just sort of establish yourself as someone that's going to respond to trades. Like, I genuinely can't tell you guys, I would have had this video out Thursday, Wednesday even, if people could just get back to me. I will say this is also like another nugget for anyone out there that's like making trades, trying to wheel and deal. When I do Dynasty trades, man, I go into a league, I figure out like what is my purpose, and I wish that I kind of made that a point of emphasis with this video, but I think I'm explaining it well in terms of like what am I trying to accomplish with these trades, right? Like the Hurts and CD one, I'm trying to win games. I'm trying to get players that are going to help me win. This one here, I'm just trying to accrue value. Devontae Smith on a rebuilding team doesn't really do anything for me. He's about to, I think he might be already 25. Like right now he's viewed as like a really young ascending wide receiver. I think somewhere soon down the line he's going to kind of fall into your T. Higgins area of like back end wide receiver 2 in Dynasty, which like is fine. But it's nothing crazy, not anything that I really want to hold on to as a rebuilding team. Now, I don't love holding on to running backs as a rebuilding team, but this price tag where Jonathan Taylor to me is like a 2-3 turn guy in startups, whereas Devontae Smith is more like a late 4th. I'll do the straight swap on that all day. I don't need Jonathan Taylor to come back or anything, and he's kind of, I don't know, I'll reassess in the offseason. Maybe I'll just trade him, but the goal here with a guy like Jonathan Taylor, and I don't mind this, is I get Jonathan Taylor, and I just do a 1-year turnaround. That's the big thing with a lot of these rebuilds is you can't just rebuild into perpetuity. You don't got to rebuild 2, 3, 4 years. There's no reason for all that. You're just burning money. You're burning buy-ins. The ROI on that's not good. If you're rebuilding, the goal should really be a 1-year turnaround. So I don't mind just sort of building around Jonathan Taylor. Like this team, it's not super far away, you know? Like next year, like I pretty much waited for the health of Kyler. Howell came along here. And then next year, what I can do is, as long as I crush the 2024 draft, make some savvy moves, I can get an RB2 behind Jonathan Taylor, and then I can just get like a, you know, maybe 2-3 stud wide receivers, maybe next year's Addison or next year's, I don't know, maybe not Tank Dell or Puka Nacua, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like a stud rookie wide receiver emerges, you maybe trade for a guy like a Tyreek Hill in the offseason, and you find your way there. So this team's not super, super far out, but that was just kind of a random trade that ended up in my inbox that I accepted. But the tangent I was going on a second ago was, when I'm making these trades in these leagues, people don't respond. But what I end up doing is, first, life hack that I've talked about before, put a player on the trade block, and then Sleeper will show you the little bubbles of who saw it. And then I'll see the little bubbles who saw it. I'll scroll through their teams first. So they are the most active in your league if, like, you know, within 5 minutes they're seeing that you put a player on the trade block. So those are the guys that I'm sort of matching their profile picture to their team picture and being like, okay, I'll go send him a trade. But if I have like a goal in mind, like here I'm trying to tank, right? So this is what I've been doing with Kittle, and I haven't been successful with it, but essentially, okay, I want to move off Kittle. All right, so he's going to go to a contending team, sort by starter rank here, and I'm going to L. Jeff. I am going to Noah G or Flanagan. I'm going to all of these people, anybody that is sort of listed as a contender here, and I am trying to find something that makes sense for Kittle. Now, maybe I'm not scooping up every last bit of value by sending out 5 different offers to them, because maybe one of the offers I love the most, right? Like there might be 2 offers in there where I'm like, man, I really hope that those get accepted over the other ones. But at the same time, I'm in like 15 dynasties at this point. I just need deals to get done. I can't get the most perfect deal to happen every time because I'm trying to move towards my goal of, you know, rebuilding this roster, getting points off my team like a guy like Kittle. So instead of trying to thread the needle of the perfect trade, you know, waiting for the freaking guy to answer, there's a trade deadline here, and it just, you know, it's grueling. So I'd rather just shoot from the hip, kind of just scattershot it, you know, little Spaz 12 Black Ops 2 action here, and just see what I can get. Now, our last trade is in a dynasty league, or no, it's in a Devy league, called the Devy Disciples. It's my first, or no, I have a Campus to Canton league with my boy Nelly. That, to be honest with you, he runs the college side. We collaborate on picking the college players, but he's very good. Dude, I will say, and I hate to yuck on anybody's yum, I would just say, if you're looking to get into Campus to Canton, just be careful. It is a lot. Right now, if that's what you signed up for and you like, for sure, go for it. But if you are like newer to Dynasty or like want to dive straight in, it is the wild, wild west, right? You are going to fan tracks most of the time, setting a lineup there in college fantasy football, and there is no consensus college fantasy football rankings. There is no I guess Roto World does go through the injuries, but we're talking, instead of injuries for 32 teams, we're talking injuries for 250 teams. So being on top of that, being on top of waivers, being on top of start sits in college fantasy, I mean, it is a lot. I could never do it, but if you are that much of a sicko, go ahead. I'm just giving a warning. So this is just a simple Devy league where pretty much it's a Devy draft, 4 rounds every year. That's just your incoming freshman or anyone who didn't declare for the draft that wasn't drafted previously in Devy. And you have your depleted rookie draft, where that's just going to be the rookies that are declaring for the draft, or like seniors no longer eligible that weren't previously drafted in the Devy draft. Now, when we look at Devy Disciples here, it's a fun setup where what is the setup? I think I can go to Devy Disciples here. I'm a competing team in this league. I know it doesn't look like it with Kenny Pickett, Breece Hall, but it's quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex, and a super flex spot. If any of you guys are curious, my Devy players here, Jalen Milroe, Katron Allen, Kyle McCord, who sucks, but then Drew Allar and Arch Manning, so that's kind of fun. Again, it is a fun league. Now, the picks are tough, right? Like, this is Sleeper. Look, Sleeper's innovative. They do stuff, but, like, man, get your Devy figured out. So what we have to do in this league is your 1, 2, and 3 are your depleted rookie picks, and then your 4, 5, 6, 7, right? This is the first round of the Devy draft, second round of the Devy draft, third round of Devy draft, fourth round of Devy draft, where this is first round of depleted rookie, second round of depleted rookie, third round of depleted rookie. Now, what I mean by depleted rookie is you're not going to have Caleb Williams and Drake May in here, right? Those guys were drafted in the Devy draft, but you're going to have Michael Penix, you're going to have Jaden Daniels, you're going to have Rome Odunze, you're going to have, I'm trying to think of like who else, Bucky Irving from Oregon. There's a couple of guys, but after the first like 6 to 8 picks, it's going to be like almost, like I would say that the first 4 picks are more like mid firsts in a normal draft, and then it's like late firsts, and then it's like early seconds at the end. So it's not quite a 24 first in this league. So when we look at the Devy Disciples right now, these are a little bit out of whack because they take into account the draft ranking, and the draft capital is just all out of whack in Devy. But starter ranks, I'm in 5th, so it's not great. But I felt I needed to make a move. There's a lot of contending teams here. Like, there's this big jumble of 8 and 4 teams. I wanted to make a little bit of a move here, right? We have Josh Allen, but our next quarterback is Kenny Pickett, and then I had nothing else going on. So I made a move for Josh Dobbs. Now, I'm actually curious what a lot of you guys who actually play Devy think about this trade, because I still don't know how to value depleted picks, right? So I sent Jamison Williams and what I would believe to be is a late first in a depleted rookie draft. So a late first in depleted rookie draft to me is more like an early to a mid-second. So I give up that plus Jamison Williams. I get Lockett. So, right, I can get another wide receiver where I have Diggs, Devontae. I have Diggs and Gabriel Davis to my Josh Allen, Devontae. And then that was kind of it. So I wanted to get another wide receiver. We get Lockett. I felt like I was lacking at wide receiver. I felt like I was lacking at, or not lacking at RB2, but I wanted Zach Moss as a flex option. So we get Zach Moss as well. And then we get Josh Dobbs. So it's not like the sexiest trade of all time, but having the option between Pickett and Dobbs is great. Adding Zach Moss to my flex options is great. And adding Tyler Lockett to my flex options feels great. Now, does it feel great giving up a first? No. But again, it's a depleted rookie first, so it's a little bit different than what we're used to. So we'll see how this team does. I do like the squad. The rest of the league is good, especially EJM has a great squad. Mahomes, Geno, Kyron. I mean, he did get Jonathan Taylor hurt, but Tyreek, Keenan Allen is pretty ridiculous. Evan Ingram as well. So those are the 6 trades I made. I made some other trades as well, but that was in the Crazy Ambassador League, which we'll save for a special video. I'll give you guys an update once the playoffs start and kind of how that team does. But just know we are we're in the playoff picture. We're fighting for our life. I'm trying to win this league so bad for you guys because I do love that series. I know a lot of you guys love that series. Again, I will make sure that I update you guys on all of that. So I don't really have anything to plug. I also don't think this video is going to do too well, but I think that some of you guys are going to love it. I know a lot of you Dynasty guys, a lot of you Devy guys are very thirsty for that sort of content this time of the year, especially from me. I haven't done a Dynasty video. I'm trying to think back. We haven't done a Dynasty video since July, probably July. So be on the lookout. We're going to be doing more and more. I think next week we're probably going to do like a 2024 rookie pick discussion type of video. So Dynasty videos on the way. This one only came out so late in the week because, again, I was wheeling and dealing. It's tough, man. Like, I'm trying to do weekly rankings for the guys on the Patreon. I'm trying to write the waiver video and write the top 10 lessons learned video. We'll also, working the phone lines across like 10 plus leagues trying to get trades done, which isn't super easy. You can I know a lot of you guys probably like make trades during either the workday or during school. It is very easy to just get derailed and completely screw up whatever you're doing. Just going back and forth with like counters and trying to get trades done. I probably should have gone a little bit more in detail with kind of the counters there, but didn't have time to put it all together. Those trades were not all one and done. A lot of them were going back and forth with the owner trying to figure out what works. So that's all a game in its own right. But as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you all watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Stones, like this froze, ice cold, ice around my body like I'm